Hey, it's Jared from Strong Roots Farm. Today we're going to go over bed prepping for the winter. Cover cropping, what we should do with beds, how they should look. We've already went through, if you haven't seen the videos prior, but we went through building the beds, putting your garden together, measuring, thinking about the sun. Today we're going to go over, okay, we've built these beds. Now what do we do before winter so that we can be ready in the spring? And I'm going to show you what I'm going to do cover cropping wise.
Hi, I'm Jared McGinnis. Thanks for joining me and my family on this adventure, where over the next 2 years, we're going to show you how to change an average subdivision home into a local, sustainable food source for you and your family. From market gardening to orchards, greenhouses, and water catchment systems, it's all right here on Strong Roots Farm.
All right. Ohio sucks. It was spring, it was 75 degrees, or fall, I'm sorry, 75 degrees, 80 degrees 2 weeks ago, and then we wake up to 38 degrees. It changed that quick. I guess we forgot what fall was. So I'm prepping my beds for the winter. I've been doing a lot of side excavating work as well as my full-time job. So parents, you can kind of relate to this. You're running kids around, your garden gets out of hand. What do? It's not too late. So here we are, October 15th or whatever it is here, mid-October, and I'm gonna do some cover cropping. So I've decided I wanna use mainly hairy vetch. I ordered some in, it came in, and I'm gonna prep these beds and seed this hairy vetch. We're out here in the garden and you can see we've got our beds built. Now remember, if you've watched my previous videos from this year, I built the bed, I stale seed bedded first, then I tilled and built my beds, put my baseline of compost and mulch down, and then I stale seed bedded again. Okay, except for 5 rows there at the beginning, which I'm going to show you here in a minute. This does not have to be done. Remember, if you're at the point now you don't have your beds built yet, build them now, cover crop them the same day. It's fine. We can go through that. I'm going to go through everything I'm going to add here as I step back inside out of the sun. But basically, I'm going to go ahead and put my compost and all my amenities in, and then I'm going to seed my hairy vetch. So what did I do? So 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, I finished up the video on building your beds. I finished that all up. I made every bed that I had, and I covered up all of them except 5. I wanted to do some fall seasonal crops, so I planted a row of kale. I did a row of leafy lettuce that I was hoping would get up, and the weather changed dramatically. So we'll see what happens there. I planted in some, I had one bed that I just took some miscellaneous seeds and did some peas and some different things and put that in. And I'll take you out and show you that in a second. As I go through though, cover cropping, I have one row that I took all my old seed. I have seed that's 2 years old and some of the stuff. So I just took it and mixed it all in. Seeds last a long time. You do not have to do this. You can save your seeds. But as a market gardener, somebody who's trying to get high yields, I don't want to sow seed that may not come up. It's fine if you have trays, if you have room for the extra trays, those kind of seeds. But basically I took all the seeds that were cheap seeds, and threw them all into a container and put them all in one row. So we'll see what happens. I'm going to use it as cover crop. Whatever comes up, comes up. If something comes up and it produces a food, I'll eat it this late fall to winter. If it doesn't, I'll cover it up in the spring or early spring, February, March timeframe, and it becomes a cover crop. It's fine to do it that way. The rest of the rows, though, I'm going to be specific about it. I'm going to use hairy vetch. Hairy vetch is one of my favorite cover crops. I used it in previous videos in my pasture. I used it in gardening before. It's a good legume, puts in a lot of nitrogen, fixes that nitrogen there for you. It also leaves off a ton of foliage so that I can compost. I really like hairy vetch a lot. I ordered this online. Actually, I think I bought it through Amazon just for you guys out there that are home gardeners. And it came from the farmer's daughter. So I usually buy everything from Johnny's, and I'm adamant about that. And I have a local supplier here that I buy hairy vetch from, but I can only buy a 50-pound bag. I only bought a 5-pound bag this time because I'm just doing these rows. I didn't want seed to sit around. Amazon was cheap. It was here the next day. Farmer's daughter did a great job. The seed is coated and pelletized, which is what I like. It works really well in the Jang cedar. So that's what I'm going to put in. Let's talk about amenities. These that I put on. So basically I had my row built like you saw before. I put down gypsum. I put down some calcium. I put down 1 bag of compost. So I usually buy this in bulk, but I bought some bags this time to kind of be more like my home gardener. I put 1 bag per row of compost down, rake that out, and used my tilther. This is kind of what you would do. It takes more compost than that when you're going to raise a crop, but for cover cropping, 1 bag is fine. So that's what I did today. Let's show you the rows. I'll show you the difference, and I want to show you this tilther. Okay, so we're out here again. You can see the first 5 rows here. I planted in actual crops. I can take you close, but basically the kale is coming up very nicely. The lettuces over here on this end are coming up very nicely. And some of the stuff in the middle is kind of sporadic. This last row had head lettuces. This is the row that I was talking about that I used all my extra seed on. So I went ahead and used my tilther. You can see it's nice. And then I only put 3 rows of the hairy vetch, just because I don't know if any of those extra seeds are gonna come up at all. They're 2 years old. They're not really in the season right now, so none of them may come up. But I went ahead and put the hairy vetch in, 3 rows there. The rest of the rows, I'm gonna put in 5 rows of hairy vetch. So I have my peat moss. I'm using 1 bag of peat moss for 2 rows. I have compost. I'm using 1 bag of compost per row. And then I'm gonna use my tilther. So this is the tilther. I bought it from Johnny's. This is a great tool. Market gardening, you need this tool. You have to have it. It's a must-have. It's $200 or whatever it is. I bought it from Johnny's. Home gardeners, this is a great tool to have. No oil, no gasoline, no engine, nothing to maintain, just strictly keeping it lubed and keeping it clean, that's it. It runs off of a battery-powered drill. So if you're like me, your batteries wear out before your tools do. So I buy these kits just because you get more batteries, and I always end up with an extra drill for some reason. So this drill stays on here full time. I hope I can get it off in 5 years when I want to change it, but it's in there. I just leave that drill on there, throw my battery powered drill on it and run with it. So that's all it goes. It's very quiet. It's nice for a community. You know, you can hang it up on the wall. It doesn't have anything to maintain. It's a great tool to have if you're a home gardener. I highly recommend it from Johnny's. All right, I'm gonna walk you through exactly what I do. I dump my compost on the row, 1 bag per row. I'm gonna rake it out. You've seen me use a rake before, so I'm gonna stop the video. Okay, I've got it raked out. Nothing fancy, didn't pay close attention, nothing. So I got my peat moss, my gypsum, my calcium, and my compost down. Now I'm gonna use the tilther. If you haven't seen anybody use a tilther before, scroll back to my old videos about seeding and you'll see that. All right, tilther's been ran. Also took my rake and kind of, cleaned up my edges a little bit. The tilther's pretty good about not flinging dirt out. It only cuts down about that inch. So I just took the rake, turned it upside down, kind of leveled it out a little bit. Now I'm ready to seed. So I'm gonna use my Jank seeder and I'm gonna put in 5 rows. So I'm gonna put 1 in the center there, and then I'm gonna go to the outsides, and then I'll go between those rows. If you don't have a Jank seeder, it is expensive, it is nice to have. I recommend it if you're a market gardener, but if you don't have a Jank seeder, you can broadcast this, meaning spread it out by hand, okay? And then rake it in, or go ahead and tilther it in. Tilther it, put it down before you tilther. You can do it that way. I just have the Jank, I'm definitely gonna use it, it works really well. So I'm gonna seed this now. There you have it, 5 rows of hairy vetch seeded. Put it in there, done. I can literally do this whole garden in the time it took you to watch this video. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna go ahead and water. I'm gonna water all this hairy vetch that I just seeded. Once the garden is done here, I'm gonna water everything. I'm gonna cover it back up. I don't know that this is gonna work. I've never done this before, but it's gonna take at least 7 days to germinate. So I'm gonna water and cover it back up because I wanna hold the heat in the ground. This plastic's black, it'll pull the heat down in. The weather is not great. We're getting 65 today at the top, but we're getting down in the 30s at night. It's really crazy right now in Ohio. This weekend is supposed to be nice. I may uncover it this weekend and re-water and leave it uncovered. But because it's cold at night, I want to keep the ground as hot as I can to get as much to germinate as I can. And so I'm going to go ahead and cover that back up. Well, that concludes the video. I hope this helps you. Please subscribe, tell your friends, keep watching. If you haven't seen any videos that I'm talking about, if you haven't seen them prior ones, subscribe, go back, watch those videos. They will help you. Remember, this is building a garden. It doesn't matter if you're a market gardener and you're thinking about trying this. It doesn't matter if you're a home gardener and you just want a small garden. I recommend you try this. Just try. That's the best way to learn. You don't have to take special classes. You don't have to pay any memberships. You don't have to do anything. I'm not asking for any money. I'm asking you to try to grow your own food. Teach your kids. It's something fun to do. It's going to benefit you. And I promise you, when we come next spring, as you go through this series with us, I will show you how not to kill yourself in a garden. I will show you how not to get frustrated. I'll show you the watering. I'll show you the fabric, show you how I'm gonna seed. I'll have an expensive setup here, with some things that you will not need. I'm gonna have a drying rack. I'm gonna have a wash table. I'm gonna have all those things because it's what I wanna do, and I wanna sell vegetables, and I wanna grow for my family and my friends, but that's not required for the home gardener, okay? You can grow your own food, 10 by 10 square, as big as you want. You'll spend the amount of time in the garden that you would mowing that square, okay? So Pay attention to the videos, keep watching, keep subscribing. Thanks for watching and supporting us. We appreciate it.
As always, thanks for watching. Tell your mama and them. Subscribe and comment to continue with us on this journey. And don't forget to check out Noah Smith at noahsmithmusic.com.